Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Marotta Media. It's Brandon, and today I'm doing something that I have never done before. I am going to be conducting an interview with a director of a film that I watched recently. Today, I am with director Tom Goudsmit, who has directed the new documentary on Amazon Prime Video called The Three Michaels. Tom, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Brandon. It's great to be here. Great to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah, absolutely. It was and just a little backstory, it was you who initially reached out to me and you asked me to watch this movie and review it. So I'm just curious because I can't believe I didn't think about this before. How did you find me?
On TikTok, I'm just kind of watching a few review people, and I thought great to get other opinions, and also it helps spread the word, because that is part of this journey on the film. Is I'm learning also about that side of things. So I just wanted to get some more opinions, and it was great that you got back to me.
Yeah, fair enough. And I was a little nervous when you reached out because, as I told you when in the initial email, I was like, I can be very critical because that most people in the film community on TikTok know me as that. And I was like, if I don't like this movie, like, I'm gonna say that. So are you cool with that? And you said you were, and I really admire that you're willing to listen to opinions, like even if they might not be exactly what you like. But I mean, I enjoyed the movie quite a bit, and but to start us off though, so I guess how did you get started with filmmaking? Because I was looking at your IMDb, and it seems like most of your credits are as a DP or a camera op, and this is your first time directing. So have you always wanted to direct, or is camera operating more your speed? And what went into the decision to direct this movie?
Well, I mean, camera operating is more probably what I do. It's easier, but I mean, I've directed a lot of shorter films. Not they're not just on IMDb. Right up, up to 60 minutes before. But I definitely feel more comfortable with camera operating or editing, or there's some smaller digital projects where just online and you're kind of doing a bit of everything. But this one just kind of, I like to say that it kind of chose me. I didn't go for. It's not like I had this idea to make this film. I met these guys and then had to make the film. It wasn't like an idea to find some tribute artists and go and do it. It was the other way around.
Was there any added pressure, like with you being like, okay, this is the first time I'm going to direct an actual movie? Did you feel nervous at all?
No. I mean, I think the pressure I put is on myself on it. Because I want to make it. I want to make it as good as it can be, but I don't feel like any hards. And it's not like I had a big studio behind me funding me or anything. Because I'm a camera operator, because I do a lot of jobs, I've got all my own equipment, and I always wanted to be in a position where I could go and make films if I chose to. So this one just ended up happening, and it's probably not the kind of films I want. I probably want to make more kind of political docs, but like I say, I ended up meeting these guys and filming with them, and wanting to follow the journey and see where it ended, and was intrigued by them and fascinated and enjoyed hanging out with them. That I wanted to see it through, and it wasn't. Although it took a few years from start to finish, it wasn't actually a lot of filming time.
Really?
It was the initial time when I was out, when I met them, and then they were going to LA. So that bit was about 2 weeks of filming. And then I had to go back and do some more after that. But it was never like, it wasn't compared to most docs, it's not a lot of hours.
Okay. So what and what I meant to say was I messed up my wording a little bit. This is your first feature that you've directed, because I saw you've directed short films before, but I'm assuming your shorts are more narrative based. What would you say is the biggest difference between directing a narrative film as opposed to a documentary?
Oh, yeah, no, I just do documentaries.
Oh no, okay,
Yeah,
just documentaries.
yeah, that's my thing. I like docs.
Okay,
I don't do drama. I've worked on a little bit. I've like there is. I helped out on a friend did a feature, and we went out there to France for 3 weeks and did it. And I've done a little bit of drama, but no, it's nearly exclusively documentary.
okay, so only documentaries.
That's
So
what I'm interested in. I don't like setting things up. I want to like trying to capture stuff that's happening and real people
yeah,
on their journey. Like that's what I like. That's what gets me. And that's what I really
yeah.
watch. I pretty much okay. That's not a majority of what I watch is documentary. I'd say.
Okay. Would you ever be interested in making something narratively if you had an idea, or would you just want to stick exclusively to documentaries?
I mean, let's say a big studio came and said, "Would I make the Three Michaels? Would I direct the Three Michaels as a narrative film?" Let's just say that.
Okay.
I'd probably be up for a challenge, but it's not on like my bucket list. It's not like something I want to do like particularly. It doesn't get me well, but there's a lot of documentary directors and a lot of ad directors that I meet. That's all they really want to do is make drama.
Mm-hmm.
They want to do that, but not. I'm not excited by that.
Okay. I definitely understand because I do love a good documentary as well. So when you reached out to me and said it's a new documentary, I was like, documentary is all you really had to
Oh,
say because
cool.
no matter the topic, chances are I'm interested because I do love documentaries. Now, for the inspiration behind this particular documentary, The Three Michaels, Michael Jackson is an American icon, but not just American. He's obviously a global icon. But what was his influence on you, if any, as someone from the UK, and what made you want to tackle him as a subject?
Well, I mean, I was totally taken into the music. You know, I loved Michael Jackson music. I remember me and my friend like dancing, making routines. Like and I remember when his music videos would come out, like it was a big thing. You know, there would be a time this Friday, this video is being released, and like everyone would be watching it, and they were huge budget films, and you know it was amazing. And I remember I actually saw him one time in the street randomly. He came to Madame Tussauds, and I was in London, and we went there, and he got up on the car and danced. It was a huge crowd, and he like danced. I mean, I never saw him live, like music. Never saw him perform, but I saw him there once. So I've definitely got a soft spot for his music and his all-round charisma and performance. Is yeah, left a big mark with me. So when I saw these guys, it was just like, this is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. And you said you saw him in the street. Did he have like security or anything? Because Michael Jackson was definitely one of those guys. If anyone saw him in public, he would probably be mauled by rabid fans.
Yeah. No, it wasn't in a supermarket. It was like Madame Tussauds is this.
It's a wax museum, right?
It's a major attraction in London where they make like wax figures. I think they have more in the world now. You know,
yeah. I've been to the one in LA.
Right, yeah. So he was there for that, and so it was a huge crowd, and they must probably let people know that he was coming and stuff. So it was all organized, but yeah, I was there for that.
So yeah, you said you met these three gentlemen who were the subjects of this documentary, and that's something I was really curious about while I was watching it, because not only was I curious how you discovered them, but I was also wondering how they discovered each other, because they're all in the Bay Area, and the Bay Area is pretty big. So I found it a little peculiar that three different men who have such a passion for Michael Jackson that they wanted to basically be him found each other. So how did you meet them, and how did they discover each other, if you have that info?
Yeah. Okay, so I was working in San Francisco for a summer on a documentary about the America's Cup race that was there, and I was staying in Fisherman's Wharf. I don't know if you know that. It's like the kind of touristy part of San Francisco
I think so.
where the street performers perform. So every day, well, they would tend to perform on weekends there, and so I would see them, and I had a bit of time off in like the evening sometimes. So and I had a camera, and me and my buddy were there. So we just like ended up one night just chatting with them and filming a bit, and they were really nice guys. And we then made. I then came back to England, and I cut that together with someone and made like a short film.
Hmm.
In that short film, we go into how they met, but for some reason, it didn't actually make the longer film. Um, and they just met online, basically. Yeah, Chevelle talks about how he saw a picture of um, Quentin next to a Lamborghini, and he
Hmm.
was like, "Oh wow, this guy looks cool." He was really impressed by him, and he is quite, he does look up to him, and he says a good line about something like how he's kind of manifesting it, and he's kind of if he manifests it, he believes it will happen,
Yeah.
and that's how they met. Actually, I mean, saying that there's probably a few, but there's not that many Michael Jackson tribute artists in the Bay
Hmm.
Area. You're right; it is a big area, so no, that's surprising. They all kind of met online. I mean, but at the same time, when you meet them, they aren't the most organized people. So I'm kind of surprised they have managed to get it together. Um, Lovely guys, though. I mean, honestly, love those guys.
Hmm.
And so that's how I got to meet them. And then we filmed for 3 or 4 nights, I say, over that summer. Made like a 20-minute short. And then we played that at a few like events, and it had a really good reaction in London. And I stayed in touch. And then, well, they said, this was probably 2 years later. They said they were going to LA. They wanted to go to LA.
Okay.
So I was like, road trip, let's go. And then I got another buddy called Tom O'Keefe, who was the main cinematographer. He came with me, and then we kind of filmed a bit at their houses
Hmm.
before, and then we hit the road. So the road bit is about 10 days, 9, 10 days, although it feels like a bit shorter in the film. Obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
It feels like 4 or 5 days, but it was actually a bit longer.
Hmm. Yeah, something you said led me to think of a question. You said you were kind of surprised how organized they were in meeting each other because they didn't come off that way. And I'm not a person that tries to judge others, but I was very, very surprised. I mentioned this in my review how open these guys were with you to let you into their homes because one of their homes was, I will say, not in the greatest condition. And I said to myself, if my house ever looked like that, nobody isn't comes inside until I clean this up. So were you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
surprised that they were as open to let you into their lives as they were?
I mean, when you put it like that, I am a bit. Thing that I find with like, I'm filming something else here. I've been filming for a bit about like a heavyweight boxer.
Hmm.
Yeah, he won't let me into his house unless he's had a cleaner, and he's very specific. But there's a big difference I think with Americans and English. So I think he's also like emotionally not as open as these guys are. These
Hmm.
guys were. So like I think Americans are just more open. So I wasn't taken aback, um, and I'm grateful that they were just you know they were like warts and all. They were like, this is me. They were willing to show me into their lives how it was, and I didn't have to change anything, and they didn't want to change anything for that. They were just happy to go along with the ride. I think, and Malachi especially. I don't think. I presume we're talking about Malachi. I don't think he sees it. I think also I don't like his cars are quite beat up, and he's so proud of them, and he's so like involved. I think it's part of the. I guess their perception of themselves might not be the same as our perception of them, and I think it changes in different ways at different times in the movie. And I just think that's part of the fascinating thing out of it, that they're willing to kind of just show everything, and that's it.
Yeah, no, when you put it that way, it is pretty admirable. Like they're not trying to be someone they're not. So yeah, when you put it that way, I do respect that outlook a lot. So, but did you guys ever discuss with them if there was a plan B? Because all three of them early on in the doc were very hell bent on making this work. They're like, I think one of them says, like, I'm going to have a mansion like this when they go to Michael Jackson's former house.
Yeah.
But realistically, the journey, even if it did work out, it's going to be long and tough. Did they ever feel like they needed to have a backup plan? Because there's a great scene in the doc. It was probably my favorite scene in the whole doc, when they meet with that woman who's like an impersonator agent. She's like a Madonna impersonator. And she basically lays out the truth to them. Like, are you doing this for money, for fame, or are you doing this because you love it? And they all kind of just sit there contemplating, why are we doing this? So did they ever think about anything like that?
I don't think so. I think isn't that part of the American dream? You just kind of go for it. You don't sit and question it too much. What if this goes wrong? Because you're so in the zone at the time. Like, they're so committed. They're sleeping in their cars at night. Yeah. They're saving everything. They're trying their best to make themselves look presentable and get their things right. And like, I don't think they have a reverse gear. It's just like, let's just go for this, and we're going to do it. I think they all had, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but they've all kind of had different paths off the back of it, and I think so. I think like the one of them who's still doing well, that was his plan. He was always going to carry on, and and he's carried on. So I think they didn't think about it. Did I ask them about it? I probably did. We've got hours and hours of interviews. Did so many interviews. I mean, so we probably did, and I'm pretty sure they always said, we're going to make it.
Mm-hmm. So, obviously, since you said you only have an interest in making documentaries, do you have a specific favorite documentary? And did that doc, or did any other ones come to your mind while you were filming and say, I kind of want to do it this way?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of my favorite docs, which I like to say that this was kind of modeled on, but is no way as good as, is American Movie. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't. That's on my list with Chris Smith, right?
Chris Smith, who's a brilliant director. Who's so good. Like, he's made so many different films, and so good, always consistently. Yeah, watch that one.
Yeah, that's been on my list for a while because I've seen other Chris Smith documentaries. I believe he did one a few years ago about the Fire Fest, and I thought that documentary was fantastic. But American Movie has been on something that I've been wanting to watch for a long time.
Yeah, he's good. He's just done that one, I think, WWF one about the wrestling guy.
That's Vince McMahon?
Yeah, Mr. McMahon. He did that one.
Did that one?
Yeah. Yeah, his early stuff. There's some brilliant films there, but that one is a bit of an outlier, I guess, compared to the rest, because it is a bit like a comedy doc. I guess you would. I guess it's a kind of comedy doc, kind of following, I guess, dreamers in a similar way to the Three Michaels. You know, people that are on a path that, like you kind of touched on, that you know at the beginning is probably not going to hit the heights that they hope for, but you're along for the journey and you're invested in the characters and you empathize with them. You want them to do well, and you hope there's a good outcome, and you hope they learn something else. They learn something about it, and I think American Movie does that brilliantly, and that definitely inspired me. I mean, this kind of, and then I'm not the greatest expert on, like, I guess if you broke up documentary into genres, you don't see that many, or I've not seen that many kind of. Tristan, the producer, calls it a popcorn doc, and I like to think of it like a kind of comedy road trip doc, whatever. You know, you don't see a lot of comedy docs, I guess, that feel kind of in that going in real time. There must be loads out there. I've not seen that many, but American Movie.
Like Borat, maybe.
Borat is, well, that's not. I wouldn't call it a documentary.
No, but documentary adjacent, but yeah, not a full-on documentary.
Yeah,
but maybe something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't because it's an actor playing part with other people who don't know it's real on a planned journey. Yeah, no, I don't think that's a documentary. I don't. That would. So it's a weird that is lives somewhere in the middle, isn't it? But yeah, I get. Yeah, there's not. When I was trying to get like references and inspiration from it, I couldn't find it. But American Movie, highly recommend to anyone that's not seen it. I don't know what streamer it's on, but I'm sure it's somewhere.
I think I've looked it up fairly recently. I think it's on something. I'll be sure to definitely check that out sometime soon, though.
Maybe Hulu or something. I don't know.
Seems like something that would be on maybe Max.
Right. I don't know. So good.
But you said in interviews you had hours and hours of footage. So I also assume you must have had hours and hours of footage when you and these guys were just walking around LA. And we see some interesting stuff happen, like them getting stopped by a TMZ reporter, and they somehow ended up at a studio where Skrillex and Wiz Khalifa were. But what was the craziest thing that happened that we didn't see in the final cut?
Well, two things come to mind. One was when we were filming on Hollywood Boulevard, and then we were going to go somewhere, I think to get lunch or something, and then we were parked in different places, and we kind of left them. And they told me about this, they'd gone into a Scientology. They got roped into the Scientology building. There's a big one there.
That big blue one?
Yeah, it's off Hollywood. It's quite near. It's near Hollywood Boulevard. It's like, I think it's right on Hollywood Boulevard, something a bit further down, something. Yeah, and they were telling me about, they did like is it Dianetics? They're doing like the tests on them, and it just sounded hilarious. I didn't get to see it, but they told me that. And then on another night, we were in San Francisco, and they got invited into a strip. They got invited to, and they ended up dancing on the stage with all the strippers kind of down below, like screaming, going crazy for them. And they did like this big show. And I deleted the card by accident after. That night. Oh, and it killed me. I was just like, oh my God. It was like the only time it's pretty much ever happened. I accidentally deleted the wrong card. So we never got to use any of that.
Oh, that would have been really funny to see. So you recorded it, but it's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame because that would
Yeah.
have been that would have been really funny to see something like that because you can only picture something like that in your mind.
And it was the total like opposite what you thought when they might come. It might be this kind of slightly seedy kind of interaction, but it was actually like totally flipped on its head, and was hilarious. And yeah, I'm sorry to say that I lost it. That's my own fault.
Well, those are good though. I wasn't sure what to expect when I thought of that question, but yeah, you came through with that one. That's really funny. Um, so I'm not exactly sure like what your plan was to release this movie, so it would get some kind of distribution. So did you put it out and then did Amazon reach out to you to put it on their streaming service, or was that always the plan?
No, yeah, it was after we well I'll make a slightly longer story. Is we edited the film and we were starting to talk to distributors, and then Leaving Neverland came out. I got
Mm,
I got heads up review that was coming out. So I had to like I had the choice to make. Like, well, do I just keep it as it is? And so it was slightly different because it was had other some other little parts. Um, or do we include it and go back out there and have that bit of them?
mhm,
I had to decide how to do it, but I knew I thought they had to watch it really and make some kind of um, acknowledgement of it. Otherwise, the film, if they didn't acknowledge it, I just think it might have been. I think the MJ hardcore fans would have probably liked it more if it didn't acknowledge it. But um, I couldn't. I wasn't making it just for them,
mhm.
so we had to go back out and do one more little trip, and then recut it, and then we went out and we had some we had some good meetings with distributors, and it was it was complicated because some people didn't want to touch anything to do with Michael Jackson anymore.
Mhm.
But we did have a distributor, and they made the deal with Amazon to put
Okay.
it on there. So it was nothing. So I don't know exactly what goes on, how that all worked out, but I think it was partly because they wanted more content around Michael for the Michael movie, the Michael
Mhm.
Jackson biopic that's coming out at some point in the next 12 months or 18 months.
Yeah.
So that is how that happened, but it was never planned beforehand. We didn't know how it was going to go. I never really planned it.
So it was never in the plan to begin with to have them watch Leaving Neverland.
Well, it wasn't out at the beginning when it
Okay.
started. It got announced as we were finishing the kind of edit, and we'd kind of got to a point. And you know what? It's way better. It's a much better film for having to include that. I wish that. I'm not saying. Obviously, I wish it never happened, and I
Mm.
wish those accusations had never happened, and we'd never had to um, uh, do that. But it made it a richer film, a much
Mhm.
more darker, denser film, I guess I would say. But um, mm, it also made it controversial. It also made it kind of a bit more controversial and a bit harder to distribute as
Mhm.
well, I would say, because Michael Jackson became kind of Marmite to some people, and as a result.
Yeah. So, and I just had to look it up to double check, but Leaving Neverland came out in 2019. So this movie was filmed that long ago.
Hmm.
Wow. and it's been on the shelf for that long.
Yeah, I mean, so we didn't so it was pretty much done before then, and then Leaving Neverland came out. We had to go back out, I think, 2019, and then we edited it 2021. We kind of finished it, and then it took a little bit of time before it then came out. Yeah.
And was there ever a moment where you thought maybe this will never see the light of day?
Yeah. I mean, certainly when Leaving Neverland came out, I thought the film was done.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was completely gone. And then I think I went through the 7 stages of grief, and I went all the way around, and then eventually it was like, okay, actually, we could make this work. We could make this still work for the film. We could tell you, documentary making is all about turning negatives into positives. You've got to find a way to, okay, we're losing sunlight. Okay, well, can we make it dark and moody and go in that corner? Or, you've always got to you've always got to flip something. You've always got to find a way to do it and include it and hopefully make it stronger.
Yeah, I mean, and I can't imagine what it's like to roll with the punches like that and just adapt and deal with all the blows that you're given, because obviously that was not expected and the timing could not have been worse, but it seemed like it really worked out in the end artistically.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I kind of alluded to, I think the Michael Jackson fans, the serious hardcore fans, don't want to, and I know this because I get messages.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to acknowledge the accusations.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there was always part of my head is like, well, that's a hardcore fan base that will like this film all the way through, all the way through production.
Yeah.
And then you hit a crossroads. It's like, okay, well, now this thing has happened to this person who's not in a film, but who's pivotal to the film, because the 3 protagonists all dress and look like him and love him and want to be like, so can we not, I can't not talk about it. I can't not acknowledge it. I can't not tip my hat to it and say, hey, and we do it in the film. We nod our head at the beginning, so we're going to talk about this. We're not going to not leave this out.
Yeah.
And but by doing so, you're going to alienate a lot of people. But I just didn't see another way, and I didn't think it was. It wouldn't sit right with me if I just kind of buried it and we made a film that they would like, and it didn't acknowledge it, because then it's just like a weird puff piece or something. I don't know. It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't work for me. It wouldn't have. I needed to go away without consciously happy with. I spent a lot of time on it, a lot of my own money, and I needed something that felt right at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I really respect that, because it seems like, not gonna call anyone out specifically, but a lot of people like that, regardless of what they're making, whether it's a documentary or a narrative film, they always try to make the subject look as great as possible and ignore all the bad. So the fact that you felt the need to include that is really admirable to me, at least, because I like when movies that discuss figures like this do that sort of thing.
And also, I'm not like, the film doesn't cast any judgment on him. And
absolutely not. No.
And I'm not casting judgment. I don't know what happened. We could talk about that. I don't know if it's that appropriate, but I just thought, we had to cover it. Let them make their decision. Let them talk about the interesting aspects of it, and then we carry on with them. And yeah, it was tough, but I feel we've kind of, navigated it in as good a way as we could.
Yeah, and definitely, like, I don't think it's the movie's job to cast judgment. It's just to tell you what happened and leave it up to the audience to determine how they feel about it. And I think you did a really good job with that.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, it was tricky, but I think we got there. But like I say, we are going to alienate some people, and
Definitely.
that's okay, and art should do that, maybe, right?
Hmm.
Film should do that. Um, people have different opinions, and that's fine. A lot of people hate Joker too. A lot of people love it. I love it. That's okay. Some people hate it.
You love Joker too?
I really enjoy Joker too.
Oh yeah, I thought it was terrible. But
And that's
uh,
fine. We can agree, like we can disagree. It's fine. Like art should do
yeah.
that. It should divide opinion. We go in a art gallery. We're not all
Hmm.
going to find the same painting our favorite.
Yeah.
We're all going to connect to other things, and things are going to resonate in different ways. And okay, the Michael Jackson thing is different because these guys are hardcore and they don't want to acknowledge any of this stuff. And
Hmm.
I'm okay with that too. If you don't want to, because it messes up your image of someone, then that's okay. Like I'm not going to ruin that for you.
Yeah. So, well, I think that's all I have regarding the movie. So, I guess I'll just end this off. What are you working on next? What are you working on something currently? Because I think one of the last times we talked, you said you were in Saudi Arabia, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So, like, were you doing something there? And what's a documentary subject you would love to make in the future?
Oh, right. Well, yeah, I was in Saudi Arabia filming something for the FIFA Club World Cup, which is coming to the US this summer, and the
Hmm.
trophies going around. So I was in the Middle East filming some bits for that, um, and so I'm making the doc about this heavyweight professional boxer,
Hmm.
um, which is kind of wrapping up. Probably this year is going to be the last year because he's getting old and coming to an end of that. And then
Hmm.
I'm kind of starting something about which I've been wanting to do for a while about gambling, um, like sports gambling and that kind of stuff, which is now legal in America, which
Hmm.
wasn't well, which was in Vegas in certain places, but now it's
Yeah.
kind of statewide.
Depend Depending on the state. Yeah.
Depending on the state, I think it's about 30 states roughly allow gambling now. Um, and my dad was a big gambler, so it's always been something kind of around in my life. I've always found, but it's going to be very different. It's not going to be particularly character focused
Hmm.
in the way that the Three Michaels are. Not so, but there are some characters in it. But that's just getting started. I'm just starting to make some connections and things like that. But I think it's a fascinating subject, and it's probably more the kind of films I want to be making.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whenever you have them done, feel free to send them my
Oh,
way, and I'll watch them.
thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate it. Definitely
Yeah,
will.
for sure.
Um, this boxing one's very busy, but randomly, like they're all have a bit of stuff in America. The boxing one, I've been in America filming quite a lot for that.
Mm.
This one's also the gambling thing's also going to be partly in America because of the story there. So I just love America. So I really enjoy being able to head over there and film there.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you have in store next.
Thank you. Be very different to this one, but yeah, hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, well, I think that is all that I had. So, Tom, thank you once again for doing this with me because this was fun. This was a really good conversation, and like I told you, this was my first time ever doing this. So, I appreciate your patience because I think I hit it pretty well, but I was pretty nervous. So,
I think you've done a great job, man. I think you're going to do many more of these, and glad I was there for the first one, first of
yeah,
many. I think you're
yeah.
really good.
Definitely will. And if you guys are interested, you can go check out Tom's movie, The Three Michaels, on Amazon Prime Video. It is free. I watched it and I really did enjoy it. So that's all I've got. So we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for being here, Tom.
Thank you so much, and please rate and review if you go watch it. It really helps us. Put some ratings on it, good or bad, whatever. I don't mind. As long as you got an opinion, that's great. But yeah, please go watch it, and thank you so much, Brandon, for having me on. I really enjoyed chatting.
Yeah, thank you for being here once again.
Cool.